Welcome, friends,
to the How-To Heretic.
I'm Uncle Mark.
And I'm Uncle Dan.
And by popular demand, I am Uncle Doug.
And this is your user's guide to life on the outside.
That's right. Leaving religion is the first step into a larger, better world.
But it can also be a scary world. Things work differently now.
Never fear. That's why we're here.
We're your audio uncles. And with help from good friends and experts in all sorts of fields,
we're going to share the stories and seek the knowledge to build a great life.
After all, you only get one that we know of, so you better make the most of it.
Well, for the first time in a while, I can say, hello, Uncles 3.
Hello.
I know. There's a whole quorum.
Yes.
I'm back.
We, there were a lot of back and forths. We did get several proofs of life, with Doug holding up a newspaper from the Sparks, Nevada Star Tribune,
holding up the current issue of the Times and Seasons.
But Doug's back.
I'm back.
Yeah,
and I have missed you guys more than you can possibly know.
Well, I hope you've learned your lesson.
I'm talking about the listeners, by the way.
Yes, of course.
I hope you've learned your lesson. We don't want to have to do that again, Doug.
Listen, don't try and smuggle heroin out of Turkey.
Yeah, or in, out. Just avoid Turkey with heroin completely.
Right.
And I'm talking about the country as well as the upcoming holiday.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. It's sleepy enough as it is, Turkey. Yeah. So, what a show, guys. We have a fun show today, I think. Yeah?
Yeah.
I enjoy. I think we're gonna have a great time.
Yeah, and I talk about how everything's going to end
over and over and over again.
And over again. Yes.
Yeah. Listen to that segment on double speed, please.
Yeah.
And I talk about how I'm going to talk about ways that you can deal with your depression about the world ending.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to bring it all home with the most depressing but quite possibly the best book in the Bible.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds great.
A fierce competition.
It's a lowered bar.
And we have an announcement. We are going to be assisting our friends at the Cognitive Dissonance podcast on Friday the 27th, which is Black Friday here in America. Hopefully people are not stampeding each other in stores, but it's 2020. What are you going to do?
But it's going to be like a live thing, right? So mark your calendars, because what I think what is going to be happening is we got a time slot.
Yeah,
which is what time is it?
It's 3 to 3:30 on Central Time in these United States, and we're going to be helping those guys raise some cash.
Yeah, they're doing like a big long full day thing. We're just going to be coming in right then. You can listen to the whole thing. You can listen to just us. And there is kind of a like friendly competition about like whose listeners will give the most money.
Yeah.
Because this is going to be raising money to try and get our country back to some sanity.
Yeah.
We're gonna be trying to help out Georgia with their senatorial shit.
Yeah, with their two runoff Senate races with two men who are infinitely better in every way than the two shitbags that Georgia has in the Senate right now. And we're definitely happy to help, and we're really excited to be joined by those guys. And they're going to tweet out details tomorrow, and I will retweet it. So if you can join us on the 27th.
So Black Friday, huh?
Yeah,
Black Friday. And hopefully
it is Black Friday. So and take some time out of your frantic perusal
stampeding
of Amazon.
Well, I'm gonna have to go to the Sharper Image earlier in the week to buy that robotic dog that does backflips because I want it.
Yeah. So instead of killing or being killed by your fellow Americans in a sliding door to buy a piece of shit plastic thing for the kids that hate you anyway, why don't you throw a few bucks during our segment at this cause, and let's try to do some actual good in the world.
Yeah.
And also beat the other podcasts.
That's right. So that's the greater good
right
in this world. So with that, let's do a show.
Woohoo!
Hey, Uncle Doug.
Hello.
I don't know if you remember, but what we tend to do on this show is we talk about things with each other, and so I'll just guide you gently into this.
Yeah, it's been. I'm a bit hazy.
Yeah, exactly. So
You are. I can't focus on you at all.
I'm going to ask Uncle Mark to chat with us a little bit.
Right.
This I feel like this will be a good segment, but if it's not the end of the world.
Well, I'm glad to have the three of us here because I think this is an important topic, and we can all contribute to it if I decide to let you. So, you guys, we're all old enough to have seen some shit in our decades of life in the mean streets of Salt Lake City, right? Where we thought we'd been around the block a time or two. I've been tear gassed, nearly killed in a car accident, almost sucked up in a tornado, and even humiliated when my date in high school, yes, a girl, guys, insisted I get up on her shoulders to get a better view at a Kenny Loggins concert. Okay? So,
That's delightful.
Well, my pride was profoundly wounded. I must admit that the view really was much better.
Oh no!
And she didn't let me get down either. She's like, "No, I'm fine." I'm like, "Really? I can get down." She's like, "No, stay up there." I'm like, "Okay." But it was a great way to see Highway to the Danger Zone live.
Yeah.
So.
She just knew that was the only way your crotch was getting anywhere near her body.
She wasn't wrong. But then 2016 rolled around and was like, "Hey, assholes, want to see me fuck some shit up?" And we were all like, "Oh, no, this is the worst." But little did we know, 2020 was just warming up in the bullpen. And holy shit, 2020 has sucked so fucking much. This must be what the end of the world feels like.
Uh-huh.
We've had endless Trump, a goddamned earthquake, an Old Testament windstorm. HBO didn't renew The Watchmen, and Uncle Doug went AWOL for 3 fucking weeks.
Yeah.
I predict the end of the world.
Yeah.
Well,
Exactly.
lots of people feel like I do, and lots of people have predicted the end of the world. Lots of people. From the Mayans to Martin Luther, from the founder of the Anthill Kids to a crazy chicken lady, predicting the end of the world is one of the hottest sectors of the gig economy. But unlike the end of the world prediction business, Uber will actually do the thing the app says it will, get you across town. So fear of the apocalypse or any of dozens of flavors of the end of the world is a real fucking fear religiously traumatized people experience, as we discussed in our Rapture Anxiety segment in episode 18. So I thought it would be fun to take a look at the long history of failed predictions by people high and low, smart and stupid over the years, so people can view the next predicted, as I'll call it, EOTW, with some statistical comfort, you guys.
Yeah.
Now, this list is going to seem insane, but this is just a smattering of failed predictions. There are hundreds more. So let's jump in semi-chronological order. First off, French Bishop Hilary of Poitiers, not the amazing American actor Sidney of Poitiers, predicted the world would end in the year 365 CE. Gave him a break. This exciting new field of science was brand new, so he got one wrong. Martin of Tours, not the discount travel agency Tours by Martin, but rather the celebrated French saint, predicted with some comfortable wiggle room that the world would end somewhere between 375 to 400 CE. He wrote,
Okay.
yeah, he wrote, there's no doubt the Antichrist...
25-year gap. That gives you some space.
You'll see as this goes on that he was one of the smart ones. So
You're right.
He wrote, there is no doubt that the Antichrist has already been born, firmly established already in his early years. He will, after reaching maturity, achieve supreme power. So shout out to the young Antichrist. Hydatius, the bishop of Aqua Flaviae, who I did not include in this just so I could say those names.
Aqua Flaviae was a cologne I used to wear in high school.
Aqua Flaviae. He wrote in 469 that mankind was so profoundly evil that the good Lord would not let it live to see another 13 years, predicting its end on the 27th of May, 482. No record of the world ending on that sunny May day has ever been found, but watch this space. The itinerant Christian scholar and freebooting eschatologist by the absolutely amazing fucking name Sextus Julius Africanus predicted way back in the 2nd century CE, based on some pretty tortured math, where days are turned into months from a passage in Daniel chapters 8 and 9, then somehow arrives at the capture of Jerusalem within the 20-year 20th year of Artaxerxes in the Olympiad year 83, year 4, which is obviously the year 490 in uncorrected lunar years, carry the 5, to arrive at the end of the world in the year 500. And the math checks out absolutely for sure, except wait, hold on, he later changed it to the year 800. It's totally 800. So Gregory of Tours, no relation to either the French saint or the Des Moines travel agency, as he was born Gregorius Florentius, was the highly regarded bishop of Tours in the 6th century. His book of Daniel Math zeroed in on the very precise date of planetary destruction occurring sometime between the years 799 and 806. He must have failed to carry the 5, as the world failed to end on every single one of the 2,555 days in his generous window.
You know, I'm starting to think that my parents utterly failed when they named me. Hearing these names, Sextus and Flavius, and I get Doug.
Yeah. Sextus Julius Africanus. Come on, beat that.
That sounds sexist and racist at the same time.
Yeah.
It's all the things. And Latin. Because apocalypse-obsessed loonies and biblical metaphorical poetry mathematicians are straight obsessed with round numbers, loads of people predicted the end of days to for sure kick off in the year 1000.
Yeah.
Including,
obvious when you think about it.
Totally. Including Pope Sylvester II, who despite A, being a pope, and B, being born Gerbert of Aurillac, was a surprisingly progressive dude, introducing both the abacus and the decimal numeric system of the Hindu-Arabic numerals to Europe for the first time, as well as encouraging people to study the more advanced Arabic and Greco-Roman mathematics and astronomy. And he was the first French pope. So cool guy, especially by papal standards, very into science, learning, and humanism, but still wrong as fuck about the end of the world.
I think he just wanted to be pope so he could change his name from Gerbert.
Yeah, but he changed it to Sylvester, so I don't know if he that seems like a wash.
Feels like a lateral move to me. So the very weird 12th century Italian mystic and theologian, and what 12th century Italian mystic and theologian isn't really weird, I always say, Joachim of Fiore was absolutely certain the bookend to creation would occur on the exact moment of a 60-year spread sometime between 1200 and 1260, as it failed to happen on any single one of the available 21,900 days. He had a sad. But not to worry, being wrong about the second most important date in human history over and over again has zero effect on people's faith in you for some reason. So Joachim of Fiore spawned a whole following who called themselves Joachites, who kept up the guessing game, hitting on the years 1290, 1335, and 1378. Jury's still out on those. Now, Pope Innocent III, who, trust me, was far from the third most innocent pope, had his own prediction. He carried a big stick in medieval Europe, reasserting papal dominance over all the Christian kings. And while the hideousness of the Crusades began well before him, he really jammed a buckled velvet slipper down on the gas, greatly expanding the Catholic war to exterminate the Muslims and expel them from the Holy Land. In fact, his hatred of the Muslims is what he based his mathematical prediction on, saying the world would be consumed by Christ's loving fire in 1284, which was 666 years after the rise of Islam. He seems nice. Wrong, but nice. And you didn't have to be a murder pope or wandering mathematician who wasn't afraid to get to the square root of Iron Age Semitic fables to get into the end of the world game. You could maybe be a painter, like master of the early Italian Renaissance, Alessandro di Mariano di Vanni Filippi, more commonly known as Sandro Botticelli. He of one of the most famous works in Western art, The Birth of Venus, with the pretty naked lady on the half shell. Renaissance artists thought of themselves as all-around smarty pants, refusing to limit themselves to being shockingly fucking good at just one thing. See Da Vinci, Leonardo for further reading on that. But since Botticelli predicted the end of this wicked world sometime in 1503, yet himself outlived that by 7 years, I think he should have stuck to his frescoes.
Yeah.
So how about a lightning round? German priest, astrologer, and astronomer Johannes Stoffler took his second bite at the end times apple, predicting it would occur on the 20th of February, 1524, after his first prediction came and went. He died of the plague, but not before seeing he was wrong twice. German Anabaptist prophet Melchior Hoffmann predicted Christ's fiery return in 1533, but somehow pissed off the Catholics and died in prison 10 years after his precious Jesus didn't come back. French theologian Pierre Dialy predicted the world's end in 1555. Spanish reformer Michael Servetus predicted it would be in 1585. The wonderfully named astronomer Regiomontanus called dibs on 1588. Little-known door decorator and Jew-hater supreme Martin Luther was dead certain it would end in 1600. There's those round numbers again. Our dear old friend and runner-up messiah Shaddai Zevi, who we had a ball discussing in episode 79, predicted the year 1648, then recalculated it to 1666. But anyway, he had subsequently been, quote, convinced to become a Muslim and keep his yap shut long before either of those never happened. Little-known amateur sailor and grandmaster professional genocidal fuckface Christopher Columbus said why the fuck not and threw his purple velvet hat into the ring, predicting this round world would end in 1658. Sorry, Chris, wrong again. And as you can imagine, 1666 was a particularly itchy year for biblical literalists, including some hardcore puritanical wackos in England called the Fifth Monarchists, who, to be fair to them, found the Triple Sixes, the raging bubonic plague, and the Great Fire of London to be pretty bad omens. Yeah. I think they had a fairly solid case. Calvinist minister Johann Heinrich Alsted predicted 1694, as did Johann Jacob Zimmermann. Godfather of the Salem witch trials Cotton Mather predicted the year 1697. Then when that failed, he revised his guesses twice more. John Napier guessed 1688, then found some late ballots and revised it to 1700. I mean, you get it for fuck's sake. From the 2nd century forward, excited apocalypse anticipatory prediction is what March Madness brackets are today. Something everybody in the office does because everybody else is doing it, right? So let's jump ahead 100 years. We can hopscotch over many, many, many more failed predictions. Closer to the modern age, hopefully trying to guess the horrible death of the planet by multiplying Exodus by Deuteronomy and then dividing by Genesis, has hardly waned as a fun pastime for crazy people who want Jesus to incinerate all the people that they hate. If anything, it's picked up steam. Remember the crazy chicken lady I mentioned in the beginning, guys?
Yes, how could I forget?
A woman named Mary Bateman prophesied the world would end in 1806. How did she know? Well, obviously because her chicken, known as, and I am not kidding here, the prophet hen of Leeds, was laying eggs what were inscribed with the words, Christ is coming. This caused quite a stir until it was discovered she was writing the words on the eggs, then jamming them back up the poor hen's oviduct.
Wow.
Yeah. In addition to being a fraud, a failed end-time predictor, and insidious animal abuser, she was also hanged for murdering one person and attempting to murder a second one with poisoned pudding, just to complete the total Englishness of her whole story.
You're telling me that someone who's willing to torture a chicken for an end times like practical joke could turn out to be a psycho?
Yeah,
Weird.
and even stranger, you could view her skeleton in the museum in Leeds until 2015. So that's
and luckily, no one who loves pudding has turned out to be a monster ever since.
So let's jump ahead a tad more. John Wesley, the founder of the Methodist Church, predicted the apocalypse in 1836. Turns out he failed to enter his guess on time, so it was postmarked too late for Jesus and the Whore of Babylon to act on it. Which brings us to William Miller, a simple country Baptist preacher who predicted Jesus would repatriate on the 21st of March, 1843. Oops, no, he meant 1844. Sadly for the Reverend Miller, Jesus Holy Ghosted him, but the venerable Dutch nobleman and politician Leopold von Sass von Jesselt did sadly die on that day, so it wasn't a total loss. And by the way, whenever I get to be a bit of a dramatic, big Exmo gay guy, please call me a big old fancy Leopold von Sassy von Sassafras. Anyway, what were we talking about?
You were on the Millerites. You were doing...
So what were known as the Millerites transformed eventually into both the Jehovah's Witnesses and the Seventh-day Adventists, following what would become known as the Great Disappointment. which is also how my parents referred to both myself and to Douglas. Maybe real person, maybe not. Mother Shipton, a.k.a. Ursula Soothtel, that we explored back in episode 161, apparently wrote, "The world to an end shall come in 1881, except no, she probably didn't because she probably never existed." A little closer to home, indigenous American Paiute prophet Wovoka, who we discussed in episode 81, predicted that his possibly Mormon-inspired ghost dance ritual would foment the end of the white man's world in 1890. He was woefully wrong. Charles Taze Russell, the spiritual founder of the Jehovah's Witnesses, apparently having not learned anything about putting an exact date on prophecy from the Great Disappointment, prophesied Jesus would burn the earth and separate the goats from the sheep in 1914. He himself survived his own prediction by 2 years. The International Bible Students Association, an arm of the Jehovah's Witnesses, declared in 1918 Christianity would be attacked by leftists, church members would be slaughtered by the millions, and all world governments would be gone by 1920. Nope. The Jehovah's Witnesses, again, set the global expiration date to 1941.
You guys, learn the lesson. Come on, man.
They're not done yet, Dan.
I know.
Pearl Harbor had a really bad day that year, but the Earth overall survived. This guy's fantastic. Evangelist, literal flat earther, and blue ribbon crazy person, Wilbur Glenn Voliva, declared that, quote, "The world is going to puff and disappear, first in 1923, then 1927, then, of course, 1930, then, obviously, 1934, landing at last and wrongly on 1935. Interestingly, he was the first Christian preacher to own his own radio station, from which he broadcast such amazing quotes as this. "The idea of a sun millions of miles in diameter and 91 million miles away is silly. The sun is only 32 miles across and not more than 3,000 miles from the earth. It stands to reason it must be so. God made the sun to light the earth, therefore, and therefore must have placed it close to the task it was designed to do. What would you think of a man who built a house in Zion, Illinois, and put the lamp to light it in Kenosha, Wisconsin?" He's fantastic. We'll do a whole segment on him sometime. He's amazing. Dorothy Martin, head of the UFO cult, the Brotherhood of the Seven Rays, claimed we'd all be destroyed by floods on December 21st, 1954. The massive disappointment among her cult members led to groundbreaking scientific research about the cult mentality, which is true. Syndicated psychic and astrologer Gene Dixon proclaimed a planetary alignment would blow us up like Alderaan, February 4th, 1962. American UFO prophet, because that's a thing, George Van Tassel said Ashtar the alien told him the apocalypse would begin on August 27th, 1967, with a Soviet nuclear attack on the southeast U.S. Our old friend Jim Jones.
Why would an alien know? That's what I mean. Are aliens also sort of like Jesus? I don't know. It's just funny to me that you just take the word of an alien about the Russian plans to annihilate us.
Well, especially if his name is Ashtar the alien. So, our old friend Jim Jones, whom we examined in episode number 5, declared he had seen visions of the world destroyed by nuclear war in 1967. Charles Manson, another old friend we chatted about in episode 35, prophesied and tried to foment a world-ending race war in 1969. The Jehovah's Witnesses again said maybe Armageddon, already in progress, might finish up in 1975. The Brahma Kumaris, a spiritual group founded in India, declared that in 1976, a great cleansing destruction of nuclear annihilation would cause all the continents but India to sink into the molten core of the earth. I searched the headlines of that day. Nobody mentioned anything about disappearing continents. Another old friend we discussed in episode 128, hideous French-Canadian monster boy and leader of the Anthill Kids cult, Roche Thériault, prophesies to his ragged flock that the 1,000-year reign of himself and God would begin on February 17th, 1979. Pat Robertson. Guys, we're playing some of our greatest hits here.
Love it.
Whose predictive statistics we discussed just back in episode number 157. One fine day in 1976, he insisted the world would end in 1982. Sadly, it did not because he's still in it. One of America's looniest bigots, head of the Nation of Islam, Louis Farrakhan, was absolutely certain the 1991 Gulf War was the final battle of Armageddon. Which brings us to a person we have not yet discussed in depth on this show, but if I call correctly, kind of gave Uncle Dan his start in broadcasting/podcasting, American evangelist, broadcaster, and Bible dum-dum Harold Camping.
Yes.
Right? That's true, right?
Absolutely. That is true. Frank and I, we hadn't yet done a podcast. We had talked about it, and then we decided to do a trial run with a live show on a local radio, internet radio program, and we just did Rapture Watch.
Yeah, all about Camping's predictions.
On
right?
on the day of the prediction, we just waited for it to happen. It never came true.
You're cute that you said prediction singular. So,
oh, right.
using the peer-reviewed, foolproof scientific method of projecting future events by comparing events in the Hebrew calendar to the lunar calendar, then, of course, comparing those to the Gregorian calendar and rounding up or down as needed, Camping declared with total certainty that the world would end on the 6th of September, 1994, then, of course, realized he had failed to multiply the 7 horns by the 7 heads and an equal number of brides for brothers. So naturally, he revised the date for his much-desired day of planetary genocide to just 3 weeks later, and again for 4 days after that, and oopsie, once again for the 31st of March, 1995, oh shit, and again for March 21st, 2011, for sure, except no, he for real meant October 21st of the same year. So, that's 0 for 7 for Harold Camping, who himself decamped the still extant world in December 2013. We're almost there, guys.
It does feel like once you survive the first, being wrong, you realize you got nothing to lose. You might as well just keep going for it.
I feel like your stock should plummet, but apparently not in the Christian world.
I know, and they just keep doubling down, and it seems to continue to work.
Yeah. So strange flying saucer cult leader who never blinked, Marshall Applewhite, who we discussed in episode 61, chose March 16th, 1997 as the day a comet trailing spaceship would take he and his followers away from an Earth shortly to be destroyed. That day turned out to be the end for him and 38 unfortunate souls who followed him. The rest of the world remained largely intact.
Pretty decent day for Nike, though.
It was a great day for Nike. And as you may have guessed, as the big 2000, the year 2000 rolled around, it was a pretty fucking crowded field rushing to get in on the eschatological action like last call at a bar in Dublin. Hang on tight, guys. The movement for the restoration of the 10 Commandments of God, a Christian cult in Uganda who we dubbed the Banana Beer Crazies when we discussed them in episode number 3, prophesied the end of the world, then fucking made it happen by poisoning and burning 778 people to death on January 1st of that year. The man whom Christopher Hitchens said could be buried in a matchbox if given an enema, all-around horrible person and father of an all-around horrible person bearing the same name, Jerry Falwell, predicted 2000 would be the year God's judgment would commence. Tim LaHaye and Jerry B. Jenkins, the evil scaremongers behind the Left Behind series of pop scare Bible fanfic books and super good movies, declared the computer meltdown of Y2K would unleash the Antichrist, which is in doubt, but it did unleash Nicolas Cage into the saddest, most exhausted role in a long, sad, and exhausted career. Another friend, potentially world record-holding rapist and the pharaoh of rural Georgia, Malachi Z. York, the former head of the Nubian nation that we discussed in episode 43, claimed that in the year 2000, a planetary alignment would pull all the planets towards the sun, causing what he called a, quote, star holocaust, which, oddly, was also the original title of the movie Cats. In addition to all those cranks that predicted the year 2000 as the end, so did the sleeping prophet Edgar Cayce, the 13th century French theologian Peter Olivi, as did friend of the show and true father of humanity, the Reverend Sun Myung Moon, who we examined in episode 47, as did pastor and executive Ed Dobson at the perfectly misnamed Moral Majority, as did Christian psychic Ruth Montgomery, as did Pentecostal evangelist Lester Sumrall, as did 18th century preacher Jonathan Edwards. I could go on and on, but I won't. So, what do the people on this list of priests, prophets, popes, psychics, seers, bishops, broadcasters, shysters, hucksters, and chicken ladies have in common? All of them, and each and every one of them on this very partial list, was wrong. Hundreds and hundreds of public predictions about the end of the world, with dates certain, and albeit frequently revised, and as of this recording anyway, we're still here. So, Next time some televangelist crackpot predicts the end of days accompanied by a scrolling 1-800 number you can donate all your useless pre-apocalyptic cash to, gets you nervous that he may be right, remember to give this segment a re-listen. I know shit seems crazy, but hang in there, wear a mask, wash your hands, stay the fuck home for the holidays, and we'll get through this. With public end of the world predictions being, about 0 for 600 at this point, you're going to be fine. So,
yeah,
that's the end of the world, and we know it, guys.
Did anybody predict 2020 is the end of the world? Because
I just stopped at 2000. Like, I stopped. We could go on and on and on and on. We didn't even talk about the Mayans, right?
I mean, has anybody who has lived this far into 2020 not predicted it as the possible end of the world?
Yeah.
I think that there have been some good things, though, that have come out of all of these predictions, including but not limited to whoever the genius was that set up the give us your money now because it's all going to be gone anyway, and we'll take care of your pets after the apocalypse happens.
Pet one I forgot about. That's so brilliant. We should look them up and see if they're still there and if they made some dough.
Yeah. I love that idea.
I love that.
Well, there you go. So that's there's no end of the world, but this is probably the end of this segment.
Well, okay. And I feel fine.
Yeah.
Great. All right. Then let's move on.
Uncle Mark.
Yes.
I don't really know what to do now. It's been so long.
It's a tricky game we play.
Yeah, you're out of the game, dude. Like you've been out of the game way too long.
I'm rusty.
Yeah.
I would like to make a joke about what Uncle Dan's about to do, but I have even though he told us what it is.
Well, I'll tell you what, Doug. If you just relax and listen to my voice, I may be able to retrieve the joke that you were going to make.
Oh, please.
Yeah. So relax and imagine a little spiraling thingamajig in front of you.
Okay.
Yeah. Dan, now that I've prepared him,
yeah,
you get in there, and this is, guys, we're doing Inception.
So where do I input my credit card number?
just text it to me. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
Listen, Uncle Doug, I don't know if you'll remember this, but back in episode 139, that was back in May of this year, so 400 years ago, Uncle Doug, you dug into the business training turned sex cult Nixium, or Nexium, as they call it.
Yeah.
It was such an interesting segment that months later, both HBO and Starz released documentary series about them. So,
that's right. You're
well
welcome.
done, Doug. We
Thank
scooped
you.
them.
Yep.
That's right. You heard it here first.
Yeah, exactly. If you've watched HBO's The Vow or Starz' Seduced, you know that they both rightly focus on the head creep in charge, sociopath rapist, and goblin-sized volleyball enthusiast Keith Raniere. We now know even more about that monster, and spoiler alert, last month he was sentenced to 120 years in prison. So,
hooray!
Can you imagine what it's going to be like for him coming out of prison that old? To be like 165.
Yeah.
That's tough, man.
That. He'll be 180 by then.
I hope they have some good vocational training for future jobs when he gets out.
Yeah, maybe they'll let him off in 100 years for good behavior.
Probably. I don't see good behavior as in his physiognomy.
Right, exactly. Well, here's the thing. We hear plenty about Raniere, but we hear a lot less about Nancy Saltzman, the co-founder of the group and prefect to Raniere's Vanguard.
Yeah.
As I watched the two series, I became more and more intrigued by Saltzman. Here's a nice-seeming middle-aged woman with an infectious smile who is positively revered by the Nexium members. But what did I know about her? After watching hours of fascinating documentary about the cult she helped start, I still knew almost nothing. One thing that did keep popping up, though, was that they kept mentioning that she was trained in hypnosis and something called NLP. That seemed like it might be worth investigating, so down the rabbit hole I went. And the thing is, this is the kind of rabbit hole that takes some of your own digging to figure out what's really going on. Mm-hmm. But I'll give you the broad strokes first. NLP stands, in this case, for neuro-linguistic programming. I say in this case because, confusingly, NLP can also stand for natural language processing, which sounds crazily similar, but is in fact all about computers understanding human language better and has nothing to do with the other NLP, so forget it. That was a solid 20 minutes of my
You're never going to get back.
Our NLP was invented by Richard Bandler and John Grinder, and before he was kicked out of the band, a guy named Frank Pusilek. Now, you'd think that getting together guys named Bandler, Pusilek, and Grinder could only result in the dirtiest of hookup apps. But this was, in fact, the 1970s, so the tech just wasn't there yet.
Imagine going through high school as a Pusilek.
Right? No, exactly.
Grinder and Pusilek.
I knew a girl whose last name was Skanky, and that was bad enough.
Wow.
True story. Yeah, true story.
Wow. Some families just need to change the family name.
Yeah.
Just give up. Anyway, instead of the hookup app, what they came up with was a system of modeling cognitive behavioral patterns in an attempt to create a new form of psychotherapy. Now, NLP centers on the idea that there's a link between your brain and your neurological function and language, and that somehow you can manipulate your language behavior to fix your psychological issues. So everything in NLP seems to do with the word model. This was all about modeling. Here's a real single sentence from the Wikipedia page about NLP. It's talking about a woman named Virginia Satir, whose work, along with a whole bunch of other people's, was very influential on these guys. Quote, Bandler and Grinder say that they used their own process of modeling to model Virginia Satir so that they could produce what they termed the meta-model, a model for gathering information and challenging a client's language and underlying thinking. So, modeling. The idea seemed to be that you could take the patient's story about themselves and analyze the language of it to therapeutic effect. By calling out distortions, making general statements specific, and filling in gaps, you could fully flesh out what was really happening in a person's mind and thereby get at the heart of matters. Okay, I guess. Then they started working with the ideas of a guy named Milton Erickson, who worked in therapeutic hypnosis. They incorporated hypnotic language into their methodology to induce a trance state. This was meant to open the patient to the therapist's suggestion. What seems to have happened is that Bandler and Grinder read a bunch of theories from a huge...
Just still getting it.
You're just going to have to get over it.
Yeah.
I could switch it, Grinder and Bandler, but I don't think it makes it. I don't think it makes it any better.
Still a shitty law firm anyway. You cut it.
Or a sexy one.
Yeah.
Anyway, they read a bunch of theories from a huge swath of different people, including, interestingly, Noam Chomsky, among myriad others, and cobbled them together into a kind of Franken method. Much of what they used wasn't proven effective or even scientific. The Chomsky that they drew from, for example, was linguistic theory and philosophy, and never meant to be used as a therapy. But that's okay, because Bandler and Grinder seem to have just stolen some of his terminology without really understanding what he was getting at anyway. That seems to have been a pattern with these guys. What they ended up with was a mishmash of ideas and language. A new age self-help gumbo that bounced off concepts like psychology, linguistics, mathematics, logic, like a ball in a pinball machine, creating a sciencey sounding theory that, when tested and analyzed, never showed any significant ability to help people. Here's a quote from Bandler himself talking about creating NLP. NLP is based on finding out what works and formalizing it. In order to formalize patterns, I used everything from linguistics to holography. The models that constitute NLP are all formal models based on mathematical, logical principles such as predicate calculus and the mathematical equations underlying holography. That's right, holography.
Holography.
As in holograms. You know those three-dimensional pictures? That's part of the therapy, I guess. What expertise in holography did either of them have? None. But that doesn't matter. They wanted to not be experts. They were mavericks. They were trying to overthrow the current paradigm. Grinder talking about the work of Thomas Kuhn, who he apparently misinterpreted to mean that scientists who created the biggest waves in history were the ones who weren't part of the field they revolutionized. I guess because they weren't indoctrinated into the orthodoxy of that field. Here's what he said. I believe it was very useful that neither one of us were qualified in the field we first went after. Psychology, and in particular its therapeutic application. This being one of the conditions which Kuhn identified in his historical study of paradigm shifts. Well, it turns out that psychology, while still in its infancy in the 70s, wasn't in need of a dramatic shift in paradigm, and NLP was eventually largely abandoned by psychological professionals. But while it may have been kicked out of the major league, don't worry, there was a very eager minor league for NLP to take by storm. The self-help Woo Patrol took up the banner and ran with it. Most famously, enormous mouth with human-attached Tony Robbins, trained with Grinder, and incorporated some NLP ideas into his own motivational speaking / coaching business.
He's done, right? Like, didn't something happen with him? Didn't he some?
Oh, I don't think he's done. I mean, lots of things have happened. I think he's been accused of some stuff, but I think he's still going. I think. I'm not.
Well, he's really
sure.
motivated. You got to give him that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, having a net worth of over $500 million will do that to
and
you.
Being 11 feet tall. He's the Home Depot 12-foot skeleton. That
Yes,
was modeled
indeed.
on him.
Yeah. Eventually, after a huge amount of bitter litigation between Bandler and Grinder, the courts decided that NLP was a generic concept and nobody owned it. This led to a bonanza. Anybody could take the concepts and modify them, add to them, teach them, employ them. There were and are no established best practices. Because this was outside of mainstream therapeutic science, there was no governing body to call anyone out. Organizations have arisen, of course, but there are no official accreditations or credentials needed to practice NLP.
It's the psychological version of a Fedra. It just cannot be brought to heel in any way, right?
Yeah, exactly. There is, for instance, a British Board of Neuro-Linguistic Programming, but gaining membership is not exactly difficult, as one TV presenter discovered when he was able to gain acceptance for his cat.
No way.
So, what does it do, according to practitioners? Well, the big claims are that NLP can help you, quote, transform your life. Want to break a habit? NLP. Want to succeed in business? NLP. Afraid of bees? NLP. Have AIDS? NLP.
No.
Well, the medical claims are more rare, but this is woo, so you know that sooner or later someone's going to start claiming that it'll fix your sciatica or cure your cancer, and they have done. And then there's the claim that I kept running into. Want to be a better salesperson? NLP will get you there. Now, in a woo that talks about boosting self-confidence, one might be tempted to gloss over this idea of improving salesmanship. But this had a different feel to it. It wasn't just about establishing rapport or dealing with rejection. They seemed to have something different up their sleeve, but in my research, I was really having trouble putting my finger on what I was picking up on. Everything was just so vague, unless I wanted to pay the $40 to take the course.
Of course.
It was a little nagging feeling that I had, that there was something I didn't understand, and that's what led me to what seems like the darker side of NLP. With its incorporation of hypnosis techniques, it seems that that part of what NLP teaches are advanced methods of manipulating people. Ways of using your language and behavior and monitoring other people's language and behavior so that you'll have an advantage over them. These concepts these concepts were developed to be used by therapists to help them understand their clients and dig deep into their subconscious to place positive, helpful suggestions. But therapists are bound by an ethical code. Doofuses who learned NLP from a guy at a meeting room in a local La Quinta aren't. Now, it's unclear to me how effective these techniques are in the real world. If the therapy can't be shown to be useful, you'd think that it wouldn't be an effective tool for nefarious purposes either. But I'm not sure about that. This isn't something that has been well studied. Most of NLP is about, helping people with anxiety or identifying limiting beliefs, really standard self-help stuff. But then I would listen to a podcast where 2 NLP trainers were talking about getting a company to let them train people in the company, and they started talking about how it's best not to mention NLP by name. To just say that it's leadership training or training to overcome the fear of public speaking. Or they're talking excitedly about how one of them, quote, hypnotized a whole room of executives in a training and how great that was. But they would never say that they were going to hypnotize them. They would just say it was a relaxation exercise. These seemed like decent, well-meaning folks who really were just excited about trying to help other people. But there was an insane ethical problem there, and they didn't seem remotely aware of that. Imagine, then, if they weren't decent, well-meaning folks.
Yeah.
There's nobody guiding this ship. Is it possible that then some of the most manipulative aspects of NLP can be used unethically to push someone to buy something that they don't want or can't afford? Could it be used to trap the psyche of vulnerable people? I genuinely don't have the answer to that. What I do know is that when you combine an NLP-trained Nancy Saltzman with an ambitious sociopath like Keith Raniere, it doesn't take long before thousands of people are turning over gobs of money and giving up years of their life for the privilege to hear woo talk that amounts to little more than you're in charge of your own destiny.
Yeah, and generally high-functioning, intelligent women going, yeah, cool, let's brand me.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
So, this is one of those things where I don't have answers for if it can truly be used for evil. I have some answers about how effective it can be for good, which is not very, but it does seem like there's a danger there. And so that's, I'm just going to leave it at that.
Well, anytime that you have to mask the purpose and the name of the therapy you're giving, that's not a good sign.
No, it seems super deeply problematic.
Yeah,
and when I heard that,
you're not dealing in good faith with your client who you are purporting to help.
Right, exactly. And these are 2 people talking on a podcast about NLP and about their exciting, all the inroads that they've made, all the ways that they've helped so many people, and they're so excited about it, and they're just completely missing the fact that if what you're doing is good, you don't have to lie about it to the people you're doing it to.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I'm very uncomfortable with the whole thing. I am going to take the training though, because I eventually want you guys to give up your share of the Patreon money. So we'll see how that goes. I'll let you know.
I don't know. You can just have it because I think it's pretty hard to divide a penny 3 ways. I'm kidding, patrons. We love you.
So there you go. Huh. Let's leave it in that uncomfortable space and move on.
Let's move on.
Uncles.
Hello.
Hello. We here at this show, we put it out into the world. We give it to the people for free.
Yeah.
And then we leave it to them to decide in their heart if it's something that's worth a little bit of their coin to kick our way. We don't fault anybody. We're not mad at anybody who doesn't give their money, but we do love the people who give money more.
Yeah.
So we have some folks to thank today. These are the people who put gas in our engine. So thanks to Carrie. Thanks to Balsamea. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that even remotely correctly. And Uncle Mark, we've got some people. Those are the people on Patreon. We got some one-time donations too, don't we?
We do. Our friend Tim, who's been a very generous patron in his strange way, gave us a very generous donation on PayPal, as did Grandpa Jerry. Incredibly kind. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, just so great. We appreciate it. And, if you can't throw a little coin our way, which we totally understand, one of the things that you can do is you can give us 5 stars. You can write a review. And here's my new motivation for writing a review, you guys. I'm going to try to read a review a week. I might skip a week or two. But I'm just going to read one of our reviews right now. So this person is now going to be famous.
Yes.
You ready?
Make them famous, like Billy
This
the
is
Kid.
this is a review by Burger Crunch. Thank you, Burger Crunch, on iTunes, and it says, "Uncle Love" is the title. 5 stars. I finally realized I was in a cult. Unfortunately, it took 57 years. Wow.
Oh man.
Never fear, though. Uncles Dan, Doug, and Mark have brought humor and therapy to help me through the mess. Thanks, uncles. This podcast is most excellent episode after episode.
Oh. Thank you,
So
Burger
that's-
Crunch.
He must
very
have written
sweet.
that. He wrote that before my absence, apparently.
We're not gendering Burger Crunch. We do not know Burger Crunch's.
The
They
more-
wrote that. They wrote that before my absence, apparently.
The more, we are more likely to read that review on the air, the more like it is a news person on North Korean television. So the more saccharine sweet it is, you're going to get read, right?
Yeah.
Well, or if you write it like a newsreel, we might do that mid-Atlantic 1920s newsreel thing.
Exactly.
Who knows?
And if
Inspire us.
I promise
and-
you this: if your review contains the term "purple nurple," we will read it on air.
Oh, no, that's going to happen.
That's an Uncle Doug guarantee right there.
Guarantee
all right,
void
well,
in Tennessee.
With that all said, thanks so much for all of your love. We love you back. Let's move along.
Let's move along. Uncle Dan,
Hello.
how you doing there?
Oh, here I am. I'm great, but I could use something peppy in my life.
Well, you know what I like is
What-
I
what's
like
that?
I like a chestnut. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I like
Oh, yeah?
I like a bromide.
Oh yeah, a little happy thought.
A little life lesson, something a bit longer than a fortune cookie, but a little shorter than a good talking to, I suppose.
Sure.
Yeah.
Who doesn't like that?
Yeah.
It's instructional. It's inspirational.
Yeah.
If only we had something like that to go
well.
on.
Well, dear uncles, I'm here to help. Finally, once again.
Yeah, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, I mean, like a cold sore or a bumbling former mayor of New York, I'm back, baby. I want to thank you two for carrying on in my absence, and I want to give a special shout out to Frank and Lauren, who put their shoulders to the wheel and helped carry the load.
No, it was great, actually. It was nice.
Yeah, it was actually pretty refreshing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, thank you guys. But most of all, I want to thank all the listeners who stuck it out these past few weeks with what must have sounded like the Beatles made up only of Ringos, or a Transformer movie with all the action edited out, leaving only the exposition, or like watching Top Gun without the soundtrack, or the super macho, not at all extremely gay volleyball scene, or a monster truck rally with nothing more than electric mopeds, or any Pink Floyd album before Dark Side of the Moon,
Okay, I think we're good.
or season 8 of Game of Thrones. I could go on.
No need.
You're clearly, yeah. I mean, delusion has no boundaries, really.
Yeah.
So, I've been gone a few weeks. What did I miss? Anything happen while I was gone?
No, it was pretty uneventful.
Yeah.
Like, not a lot happened.
All right. Well, in spite of that, I got today's subject from the mouth of our soon-to-be normal president, Joseph Rosenthal Biden.
Rosenthal.
I don't know what isn't it kind
It's
of
not
Robinette.
Rosenthal. It's like
Robinette.
it's like Robin something.
It's Robinette. I think it's his mother's
Robinette,
maiden,
that's what
his
it
mother's
is.
maiden name.
Oh, cute. Who, in his first speech after it was announced that America had decided to return to the norm of voting for white male presidents after flirting with one African American and one villainous vermilion virus vector, although he merely referenced scripture, saying that to everything there is a season, he was specifically quoting the book of Ecclesiastes, which is what I want to talk about today.
I think he was quoting, I hate to call you out, Uncle Doug, but I'm pretty sure he was quoting a song by the Byrds.
We'll get to that.
Okay.
It always kind of galls me.
How come nobody's ever done there's always a seasoning. There's a time, you know what I mean? Like a spice company.
Maybe
a time
that's what
for every season?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Think about the missed
THYME,
crossover sponsorship opportunity for a band called The Byrds not to have a song called To Everything There Is a Seasoning.
Right.
Yeah.
And they could sell that at Four Seasonings, allspice, wholesale.
Exactly.
Right, off Route 16.
Yeah.
So it always kind of galls me when religious people say, as Scripture says, as though all verses in the Bible are all the same. Mm-hmm. If nothing else in this show, we have demonstrated that all Bible verses were not created equal. Some do indeed extol virtues and admonish evil, while others encourage the reader to bash infant babies on rocks. It's a mixed bag. However, in the Bible, the book of Ecclesiastes is widely regarded as one of the good books in the good book. And given the fact that it clocks in at a mere 12 short chapters, it at least adheres to Uncle Doug's first rule of the Bible. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I have decided to claim all the short books in the Bible, leaving you with no choice but to slog your way through Proverbs and Isaiah, so dibs.
Yeah.
However, the book is also considered to be good, or at least not actively harmful, because it contains some of the most iconic and poetic verses in the whole sloppy mess. Although it is a mighty lowered bar, today I'm going to prove these people correct. Ecclesiastes may be the best book in the Bible, but not at all for the reasons they think. Except maybe for the book of Job. This book is the most depressing, the bleakest, the most hopeless, and the most dismal book in the whole Bible. The fact that most religious people consider it to be sublime tells us two things.
Wait, Ecclesiastes?
Yes.
Oh, I thought you said it was the nice one.
Well, I said it's good. I didn't say it was nice.
Okay.
And the fact that most religious people think it's the sublime book in the Bible tells us two things. They haven't read it, and they really do need some more excitement in their lives. The book was written sometime between 450 and 200 BCE and is one of the 24 books of the Hebrew Bible. It is considered one of the wisdom books, along with Lamentations and the Song of Solomon, for some reason, for example. It gets its name from the word ecclesia in Greek, which means assembly or the assembled, and it's obviously the root of the term ecclesiastical. The book was for centuries popularly thought to be authored by King Solomon himself. However, modern scholars have rejected this, not least because Solomon in all likelihood never lived. But the book does begin with, quote, the words of the preacher, the son of David, king in Jerusalem. So one can be forgiven for thinking the book was written by who the book says it was written by.
Yeah.
But I digress. The book itself is a set of reflections by a king named Koheleth on his life, his futile attempts at happiness, and the utter pointlessness of human existence. Spoiler alert, it's not a happy story. Right out of the gate in verse 2, we're in for a bit of a gloomy adventure with, quote, vanity of vanities, saith the preacher, vanity of vanities, all is vanity. What profit hath a man of all his labor which he taketh under the sun? One generation passeth away, and another generation cometh, but the earth abideth forever. He goes on to lament that life is
Dust in the wind.
Exactly. That's very much. Yeah. He goes on to lament that life is essentially pointless, and that, quote, there is no new thing under the sun, which he says something like 30 times in this book. In what will become a theme of the book, Koheleth laments that the search for wisdom will eventually and inevitably lead to sorrow. Quote, I have seen all the works that are done under the sun, and behold, all is vanity and vexation of spirit. That which is crooked cannot be made straight. That which is wanting cannot be numbered. For in much wisdom is much grief, and he that increaseth knowledge increaseth sorrow.
Did you just have a stroke?
I think I did. No, I just left the toast on.
Stroke of genius.
In chapter 2, begins with Koheleth lamenting the ephemeral nature of his accomplishments and the fact that laughter, wine, singers, fountains, musical instruments, and great works did nothing to make him ultimately happy.
Oh.
Clearly, he never met a Boda box. He complains that owning great numbers of livestock brought him no happiness, and because this is the Bible, neither did owning droves of slaves, Even when the slaves were born in his own house unto slavery, it didn't cheer him up. Poor
What do
guy.
you like? You know, it's the age-old adage, which is probably from Ecclesiastes. What do you get the guy that has everything?
Exactly. He
Not more
wallows in-
slaves, apparently.
Right.
Now I got to go back to the drawing board on that one.
Exactly. He wallows in the fact that for the wise men and the fool, for the rich men and the poor, the end is all the same, death. Chapter 3 begins with one of the most famous and oft-quoted passages in the entire Bible.
Well, just a sec, though. He was living during Bible time.
Truly.
Yeah.
Truly. Yeah. I mean, even for a king, it must have been really shitty.
Super shit, right?
And really,
The
if
worst.
the Bible has taught us one thing, it stunk.
That's right. As we discussed with Lauren, the Bible is about three things: ointment's good, women bad, birds worse.
Birds are the terrible.
Exactly. So chapter 3 begins with one of the most famous and oft-quoted passages in the entire Bible. Quote, "To everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under heaven. A time to be born and a time to die. A time to plant and a time to pluck up that which is planted. A time to kill and a time to heal. A time to break down and a time to build up. A time to weep and a time to laugh. A time to mourn and a time to dance. A time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones together. A time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, like right now. A time to get and a time to lose. A time to keep and a time to cast away. A time to rend and a time to sow. A time to keep silence and a time to speak. A time to love and a time to hate. A time of war and a time of peace."
Can I just say, I get the literary technique of repetition
Sure.
of a theme, but oh my God, shut up! We get it.
I know, right?
This is like the most Buddhist thing in the Bible, right?
Well, here's the thing about that.
Yeah.
That all seems really nice, not least because it was the passage that Kevin Bacon read to the Beaumont City Council in Footloose to try and get them to just let the kids dance. And no doubt, as Uncle Dan said, you will also recognize these passages as the lyrics to the Byrds song "Turn, Turn, Turn." The whole song is lifted from this text, except for the last line, "A time for peace, I swear it's not too late." However, the fact is that the author is actually wrestling with the fact that beauty fades and the cold, icy scythe of death comes for us all. It's not actually the Zen-like pearl that everyone thinks it is, but an acknowledgement that everything that grows will die and everything good will end.
It should be renamed, "It all sucks, what's the point?"
It's pretty much it. This passage is oft-quoted as a hopeful message that as bad as things might be, they will get better. However, it's just as easy to see the opposite, that however good things might be, something terrible is bound to come. And given the headspace that Koheleth is in, it seems pretty clear that it's the latter.
It's kind of like when people play Every Breath You Take for their wedding song.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
The chapter ends with these uplifting verses, quote, "For that which befalleth the sons of men befalleth the beasts. Even one thing befalleth them, as the one dieth, so dieth the other. Yea, they all have one breast, so that a man hath no preeminence above the beast. For all is vanity, all go unto one place, all are of the dust, and all return to dust again." Sorry.
You do not want to
love
hire
it.
this guy as a mall Santa.
And yes, this is where we get the funerary recitation, "Ashes to ashes, dust to dust." Although it's not quite as depressing as Mo Sislak's recitation that he taped to his back when he stuck his head in a stove. No funeral. Chapter 4 starts off with two verses that should be tattooed on the forehead of every Christian who voted for Trump once or twice. Quote, "So I returned and considered all the oppressions that are done under the sun, and beheld the tears of such that were oppressed, and they had no comforter. And on the side of the oppressors there was power, but they had no comforter. Wherefore I praise the dead which are already dead more than the living which are yet alive."
Was this written by me in my teenage years?
No, or just last week.
Do you know what would be awesome to do is to print up some really legit looking Hallmark cards with some of this, like some of the really shitty stuff in Ecclesiastes in them, and just kind of tuck them in among the other Hallmark cards, don't you think?
I would love that.
It'd be a very yes man
What
kind of.
section of the card shop does this fit into?
Condolences, but what's the point, I guess?
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Existential crisis.
Yeah.
Exactly. Later in chapter 4, there is one of the most beautiful arguments I've read in a long time for being allowed to love whomever you love. Quote, "Two are better than one because they have a good reward for their labor. For if they fall, the one will lift up his fellow. But woe to him that is alone when he falleth, for he hath not another to help him up. Again, if two lie together, then they have heat. But how can one be warm alone? And if one prevail against him, two shall withstand him." So it's kind of like, yeah, just, be with somebody, be happy, but whatever. Chapters 5 and 6 are prescient enough of the life and administration of Donald J. Trump that it's almost enough to make me believe that the writer was referencing him directly. Then I remember that this is part of the Bible that's being thumped by his followers. The writer rages against the rich, the gluttonous, those who tell lies, those who don't honor vows or contracts, and that regard themselves greater than everyone else by virtue of their wealth.
Wow.
That's
kind of a little on the nose.
Bo
a bit on
Biden.
the nose.
Hunter. Sorry, Bo's dead.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I'm sorry, wrong one.
Over and over again as I read these chapters, I just kept thinking of Donald Trump and how on earth one could read these passages and think to themselves, nah, not him.
Yeah.
Chapter 7 begins with Koheleth admonishing the powerful not to listen to like suck-ups of the world. Quote, "It is better to hear the rebuke of the wise than for a man to hear the song of the fools. For as the crackling of thorns under a pot, so is the laughter of the fool. This is also vanity." But lest we forget that this is the Bible, we get this gemstone in verse 26. Quote, this is so fucked up. "And I find more bitter than death the woman, whose heart is snares and nets, and her hands as bands. Whoso pleaseth God shall escape from her, but the sinner shall be taken by her." So there you go. Just in case you were wondering.
I don't want to hear what he has to say about birds.
We've now ventured out of like just sort of standard teenagehood and into
14, 15.
Yeah.
Damn it! I just can't. What are the guys?
The incels?
Incels.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
God
totally.
damn it!
He's the king of the incels, Corey Horror, whoever this guy is.
Koheleth.
Cocoa Beam.
Okay, chapter 8 is this is crazy, is Koheleth wrestling, unsuccessfully I might add, with the problem of evil. Yes. Quote, "There is a vanity which is done upon the earth, that there be just men unto whom it happeneth according to the work of the wicked. Again, there be wicked men to whom it happeneth according to the work of the righteous. I said, this is also vanity. Then I commended mirth, because a man hath no better thing under the sun than to eat and to drink and to be merry. For that shall abide with him of his labor this days of his life, which God giveth him under the sun." So this whole chapter is him talking about why do bad things happen to good people and why do good things happen to bad people, and he doesn't have an answer.
Right.
Why is this book in the Bible? I don't understand.
I think he needs to talk to somebody and have a kind of get some perspective on what he considers the greatest crime in the world, which is vanity.
Right.
Yeah. Which obviously the Bible means is self-regard, right? But
yeah, exactly. And as a woman-hating slave owner, you might be right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and the eat, drink, and be merry is part of that. It's interesting.
Right, which is taken to be this kind of jolly, commandment to enjoy what is good from the earth, but that's not what the context is here.
No, it's basically straight up saying, no matter how good you are, evil might befall you, so fuck it.
Yeah.
Enjoy yourself while you can. Why is this in the Bible?
I've always heard this sort of eat, drink, and be merry to be like kind of the hedonist's cry, but apparently it's just like give up now. Might as well enjoy the pleasures of the flesh
Because you're going to die.
Because you're going to die.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's not. This is not the Bible shaming that position, but rather taking that position.
Right.
But from from such a dark existential place, rather than kind of celebrate the time we have, the way we would say it, like celebrate the time you have now because there won't be any more.
Exactly.
Right.
This is just like, fuck it, nothing matters.
Yeah.
Fuck, marry, kill, whatever you want.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
It's where this podcast would have gone had Trump won.
So if that's all not dark enough for you, I give you chapter 9, which is positively Dostoevsky-esque. Quote, For the living know that they shall die, but the dead know not anything. Neither have they any more reward, for the memory of them is forgotten. And, quote, I returned and saw under the sun that the race is not to the swift, nor the battle to the strong, neither yet bread to the wise, nor riches to the men of understanding, nor yet favor to the men of skill, but time and chance happeneth to them all. For man also knoweth not his time, as the fishes are taken up by the evil net, and as the birds that are caught in the snare. So are the sons of men snared in an evil time, when it falleth suddenly upon them.
Is it me, or did that start with him saying there is no afterlife?
Well, here's the thing, and we're going to get to this a little later, but we'll talk about it now. There are a handful of references to the Lord in this book.
Yeah.
But most biblical scholars dispute most or all of them. They're added later, because the only reason this book is in the Bible is because someone had to be like, what the fuck is this book doing here? So there is no talk of the afterlife. There is no admonition to follow God because he's good. The only times he tells you to follow God is because God is basically a capricious, evil force, like a hurricane. So you might as well do good because he's going to get you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's so bleak.
No, I love this.
And after he does get you, you'll die, and there will be nothing for you.
Right.
I love this ancient Semitic existentialism, actually. I think.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
And
He beat
I
Nietzsche by thousands of years.
Yeah.
Right.
Good job.
Chapter 10 and 11 are another series of admonitions against wealth and avarice. And once again, I remain baffled that anyone who claims this book is their moral compass can feel anything but revulsion by the side of Trump. Chapter 12.
As we've discussed with the Bible, if it can mean anything, it means nothing.
Right, but this book is it's not unclear what the position of Koheleth is, what his mind is thinking.
Yeah.
Right? Like, he hates people like Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Anyway, chapter 12 brings this whole sad affair to an end with a series of dire predictions, including this gem in verse 5. Also, when they shall be afraid of that which is high, and fear shall be in the way, and the almond tree shall flourish, and the grasshopper shall be a burden, and desire shall fail, because man goeth to his long home, and the mourners go about in the street. I'm not sure why the grasshopper is a burden, but, you know. It ends with this.
They eat all your shit.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Don't invite them in. They're like vampires. You have to invite them in. It ends with this obvious addition to try and make the book have any place in the Bible, quote, let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. As I mentioned a minute ago, this is a clear addition to the script.
Yeah, that sounds nothing like anything that came before.
Right. And not least because this was most definitely not the conclusion one would reach by reading this book.
Yeah.
Right.
The only conclusion one can draw from this book is that life is shit, so enjoy yourself while you can, because death is coming for us all.
Yeah, this book is basically Roy Batty sitting on the roof in Blade Runner in the last moments of his life.
Totally.
Right?
Totally.
A coked out Rutger Hauer actually improvising those amazing lines, but that's what this whole book is, and then they add on, in the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That is so spot on.
Yeah.
Now, I did mention that at the beginning that this may be the best book in the Bible, and it really might be. Not because of what most Christians think, not because it is sublime wisdom. It isn't. It's because this is an honest and painful exploration about the emptiness that can haunt the soul.
The human condition, yeah.
Yeah.
All by a man who has clearly lost his faith and his faith in humanity. Right? Like, this is a bleak, dark, depressing book. But it's honest.
Yeah.
It's, there are no false promises, no vain threats, and except for the tacit endorsement of slavery and some casual misogyny.
Well, that's
it's
just that's just standard. Like,
right.
Yeah.
And again, don't get me wrong. I don't mean to dismiss either of those things. It's just for a book in the Bible, you don't get much better than this.
Yeah.
So mostly, yeah. Go
I
ahead.
was just going to say, what's funny is that if you watch a movie like River Runs Through It or something with the good guy pastor, the true humanist, he's reading one little the race is not to the swift or something like that.
Exactly.
And stop. And then they don't read, 6 sentences on either side of that because everybody would run out of the church.
But think about even that passage. The race is not to the swift nor the battle to the strong is an admission to the unfairness of the world.
Right.
Right? Like what is the point? If you're fast and you can't win, or you're strong and you can't be victorious.
Well, it's a statement about the Electoral College.
Not this time.
Yeah.
Mostly this book is just a sad man staring out the window at a world he no longer has faith in, lamenting the passage of time and the death of youth. For some reason, it speaks to me. I don't know why.
Weird.
For the life of me, I don't know why this book is in the Bible, because it is so. It's the crazy contradiction that it's in the Bible, and it is perceived as this sublime wisdom, when in reality, it is the most, kind of distilled, refutation of anything else the Bible might have to say.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
It's crazy how much, how opposite of what you're supposed to take away from the Bible that book is.
Yeah, it's truly, and to end this, it has a huge, perhaps more than any other book in the Bible, it has a huge presence in popular culture. Not least because A Time to Kill was a movie, and the Turn was one of the most.
What an amazing film that was.
Well, you know what I mean. Like it kind of. I won't put the litany out there, but there's a million references from this book.
Yeah.
In our popular culture.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite is that in Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury, Guy Montag memorizes the book of Ecclesiastes, and that's his contribution to the Afterscape. Mm-hmm. Is that book, which is I find a fascinating little nugget.
Which is perfect about the bleakness of Fahrenheit 451, right?
Exactly.
I'm telling you, if 2020 goes too much longer, I am going to have to do the same thing. I will memorize. I will have nothing else to do, so I might as well.
I'm going to memorize the Celestine prophecy. That's going to be my
You guys are going to
contribution.
stick me with memorizing Ezekiel. Fuck you.
Yeah, that's you.
So there you go.
Well,
There's the book of Ecclesiastes.
To every segment, there is an end.
And this is it.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Well, friends, that is it for this week's show.
Hey, we'd love to hear from you. Send us an email at howto@howtoheretic.com.
Or if you're a sad old Bible king right on the edge of realizing some very important actual truths, leave us a voicemail about it at 903-88-HOW-TO, which is 903-884-6986. I'm also on Twitter at HowToHeretic.
And once again, thanks to our incredible patrons.
And thanks to our sad king of the Bible, Cody Layton, for editing the show.
And thanks to all of you, friends, for tuning in.
Bye-bye, friends.